Well, a lot of talk in the past few months about getting the economy going, and the message as well from the RBA about fast-tracking infrastructure projects that, of course, can benefit the economy in the longer term by becoming something that actually helps out and increases growth, but also the shorter term, the surge through of those jobs and the money being spent, billions of dollars, on getting these projects going earlier. Josh Frydenberg is not ruling that out today in a speech, but is warning that it's not all that easy, in particular with the projects already in the pipeline for the government.
Despite our record $100 billion infrastructure pipeline, I am conscious that there have been some calls for even more infrastructure spending or to bring forward other major projects. We will always keep an open mind. However, one needs to also take into account the practical challenges. Long lead times and significant planning and regulatory coordination means that major projects cannot materialise quickly. That is why our focus has been on developing a substantial pipeline that is maintained and rolled forward on an ongoing basis.
So with a lot of these projects, you can't just say, OK, let's build that tomorrow. Approvals, planning, and even some of those early stages where you can't actually start the process for quite some number of years. The government obviously could be looking at some of the smaller projects, and there were quite a few as well announced during that election campaign that might be about expanding a road by a lane or two, meaning that certain residents in some electorates get home sooner. What about the big projects, though? This here is East-West Link, and it is demonstrative of what is still apparently a bit of an impasse between the federal government and what it wants to fund and help fund, and what the state governments are asking for. The federal government has been talking about Row 8, Row 9. This is a freight project in Perth, and also East-West Link in Melbourne, where it wants to put money up. In this case, it has Labor government saying, this is not our priority. We don't want billions of dollars towards these projects. We've got our own focus. Alan Tudge had this message today for Victoria.
I suppose my message there would be that if you've got concrete shortages, let's then expedite the quarry approval process so that we don't have that in the future. Now, should we even give the go-ahead to East-West Link today, it would obviously still take a few years to do the detailed planning work, etc., before you can really get the major construction underway. So in the meantime, let's get cracking in terms of approving quarries.
Twofold issue there is even if this project does get up, it's going to be a while before anything flows through in the economy, and also to the Victorian government, hurry up and get on board because of that delay. On the other side, you've got what the states want, the help what they want for some of the projects they want to get up. For Victoria, you're talking about the Metro tunnel there, which they're getting going on anyway. And also, of course, linking up all of the various train lines. You've also got the Metro West project in Sydney and Cross River Rail in Brisbane. What's the difference there? Well, you're talking about public transport for, yes, some Labor states, Queensland and Victoria, but in the case of New South Wales, a coalition state as well. Their priority there, getting rail projects going compared to the federal coalition. More about road and freight. This is an impasse that's been happening for quite some time, was perhaps more stark early on when it was Tony Abbott in power, but appears to continue to this very day. Labor is also preferring to talk about what it says is a lack of infrastructure projects and spending happening right now and in the forward estimates. The government talks about the $100 billion over 10 years. Labor says the actual spending out of the budget in the forward estimates is more like $6.5 billion. So if you're going to have a 10-year window, get more of it, up to $30 billion or so, in the forward estimates, a commensurate amount. This was Anthony Albanese.
It was very disappointing that this morning it's reported that Alan Tudge has actually called for state governments to do more on infrastructure rather than what he has responsibility for. Now, the government could bring forward some of the projects that it said it would support, could also support good projects like the extra bridge over the causeway